In today's class, we're going to practice opening up the upper chest, strengthening our back to help eventually getting into inversions. Let's get started. So welcome back to the channel. I'm today here with Isabella, and she's going to be demonstrating the poses as well. So you'll be able to look at her to see how the poses look really nice, and then look at me to see what a stiff guy looks like. So for today's class, we're going to have a strap and a couple of blocks for the chest opening work that we're going to be doing. And at the end, we're going to go over to a wall. So we need to have a good amount of mobility up in the shoulder girdle and an opening here underneath your clavicle and first two ribs. The problem is that because of all the times that we spend on computers and in cars, this tends to be shut down for most people. So when we go to try to utilize the muscles in the back to open up the chest, instead we just end up hinging at the TL junction, or the thoracic meets the lumbar. And over time that wears out on those joints. It's no good for your spine. So we need to teach this to open up before we can learn the Sarvangasana variations and before we should try to attempt a headstand. So we're going to look at some of that stuff today. So I want you to begin today's class on your back. Lie down on your back with your palms faced up, knees bent, feet down on the floor. So first I just want you to let your shoulders completely relax down to the ground. And then bring your hands to your bottom front ribs, and you can notice how when the shoulders drop down, the ribs want to flare up. So now I want you on your exhalation to hug the ribs down towards the pelvis, but let the pelvis go in neutral so it's not tucked. Your sit bones reach to your heels. You should feel a little curve in your lower back. Can you feel that when you pull your ribs down that it reveals the tension in your shoulders and in your neck? This is rhetorical, you don't have to actually answer that. But okay, so yeah, as the ribs come in, you feel the tension there, let the shoulders open back up. Now let's just do a little supine twist. So open your arms out to the side, cross your right knee over your left, shift your hips to the right a little bit, and now keeping your right shoulder dropping, let your legs slowly fall over to the side. See if you can keep the ribs plugged down to the pelvis. I'm using my right big toe to control how much my legs go over. If I let them fall all the way over, I'll kind of lose the rib cage situation. Isabella should probably do it without though. We'll see. Oh yeah, you're pretty good at that. Okay, so as the shoulder drops down, the ribs draw in, feel your hips start to twist. Now I want you to start to feel that this tissue here can start to open up so you can, it's not actually divided, but as if you're dividing the shoulder from the chest stuff. Roll the shoulder open, roll the chest stuff to the left. Come back to center, change the cross of your legs, take the hips to the left a bit, and slowly take your legs over to the right. Feel the left shoulder head drop back, down, and let the ribs start to turn. And take some nice deep belly breaths. Feel the hips can fall over a little bit further now as the tissue there is willing to open up as we approach holding over a minute. Now bring your knees and your hips back to center. Hug your right knee into your chest as you stretch your left leg out along the ground. Descend through your left thigh. Lengthen your tail to your heel. Change legs. Hug your left knee in as you stretch your right leg out. Descend through your right thigh. Lengthen your tail towards your heel. Bring both knees into your chest. Roll yourself up to seated. And then stretch back into your first child's pose for the day. So with your big toes together, take your knees wide enough for your ribs to fit in between. Let your heart start to melt towards the ground as the underarms open up. Open your hands and press the hands down evenly. Now come up onto your hands and your knees. Slide your hands under your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips for cat-cow. Tuck the pelvis and round up through the spine one vertebra at a time, all the way up between your shoulder blades and your neck. Then as you inhale, go into extension. Tip the sit bones up and let each joint, one bone at a time, roll into a back bend. As you exhale, round through your spine. And inhale into extension. Come into neutral, and let's open up the back of the shoulder. So sit your hips back about halfway towards your heels, and as you inhale, open up and twist, take your right arm up. As you exhale, thread the needle, slide the arm through. We'll go through a couple times before we hold. Inhale to open up, twist. Exhale, slide through. Inhale, open up, twist. Exhale, slide through. Now, two different ways you can do this. You can stay upright, or you can lower your shoulder all the way to the ground, lower your ear down, maybe even take your left arm and straighten it overhead towards the front of your mat. Then slowly come back up, change sides, plant the right hand, and twist. Turn from your belly, turn your rib cage, take your arm up, and exhale, slide through. Inhale, twist open. Exhale, slide through. Inhale, twist open. Exhale, slide through. And you can stay upright or lower your shoulder down and take your arm over. Let your breath open up your middle back ribs. Feel the back of the shoulder opening. Then come back up. And step back into a plank position. As you press down through the four corners of your hands, draw from the center of the hand up through the inner arm. Feel the inner arms long. Then pull your hips up and back, stretch back into downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Bend your knees slightly as you let your head drop. Roll yourself up to stand, one vertebra at a time. Stand in mountain pose. Ground down through the center of your heels, open up your toes. As you press through your feet, feel your thighs draw back over your ankles. Bring your palms together. With your eyes closed, take a slow breath all the way down towards the pit of your abdomen. Fill your lungs. And let it out. Open your eyes, release your arms to your side. As you inhale, float the arms out to the side, externally rotate, spin the biceps up, and then reach all the way up. Exhale, spread your arms and fold forward. Inhale into a flat back. Plant your hands and step back to plank pose. Lower down onto your belly. Inhale into cobra. Press down from the bra line down into the ground. From the bra line up, start to go in, forward, into a back bend. Lower your heart back down. Press up into plank pose. Stretch back into dog pose. Ground down through your left big toe mound. Raise your right leg up behind you. Shift into plank. Pull your knee up to your chest and around your back. Push down through the four corners of your hands again. As you inhale, tap the knee down to the ground. Find neutral. Exhale, pull back up. Step your foot up by your thumb. Ground through your heel, come up onto your fingertips. Turn on the muscles in your back leg. Lengthen through your tail towards your back heel. Now take one arm back. Engage this right outer hip, and then see if you can take both arms back without your hips falling over to the side. Now as you reach through your left heel, see if you can take your left arm forward. Plant your left hand down and twist. Take your arm up. Bring your hand down, step your back foot an inch or two closer, and then straighten your right leg as best you can. Now, if your hamstrings are too tight and your back wants to round up, you can put blocks underneath your hands, but not a requirement. Now plant your hands back down onto the mat and step back into down dog, or you can add a vinyasa if you like. Press down through your right big toe mound and raise your left leg up behind you. Bring your knee to your chest, shift into plank. Inhale, lower your knees slowly. Tap it down and find neutral. Now tuck your buttock, tuck your abs, tuck your ribs, pull the knee back up. Push down through the four corners of your hands, inner arms tall. Step your foot up by your thumb. Come up onto your fingertips. Ground through the center of your left heel. Energize your back leg. Engage your left hip, take one arm back. Without your hips falling over to the side, see if you can take the other arm back too. As you engage your left hip, take your right arm forward. Lengthen through the core of your spine. Keep that length as you set your right hand down flat and twist. So be steady through the body, but let the breath flow in and out through your nose. Bring your hand back down. Step back into plank pose. Oh, wait a minute. We forgot about the back foot thing. Step the back foot an inch or two closer, and then start to straighten the left leg as best you can. Hands onto the blocks or hands onto the ground. Then plant your hands and step back into downward facing dog or take a vinyasa. From down dog, look in between your hands, step or float up to the front. As you inhale, find a flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Sit your hips back like you're sitting into a chair. Keep the buttock low. Now lift your belly up off your thighs, raise your arms up. Look up, join your palms. Let your tail drop down, take your dorsal spine in and up into your hands, and then reach up through the arms. Stand, bring your hands to your heart, Samastiti. Hands to your hips. Sit back like you're sitting into a chair. Cross your left leg up and over your right. Cross your left arm under. Now, if your shoulder is flexible enough to take the double cross where the hands twist too, go for that. Otherwise, you can just practice stretching your arm across the midline. Uncross your arms and your legs, come back to chair pose. Cross your right leg up and over your left. Cross your right elbow under your left. Take the single cross of the arms or the double cross. Now feel your upper two ribs start to open and widen from the back. Focus on the breath still going all the way down. Feel the lower ribs open, middle, all the way up into the top. Whole back rib cage opening. Then uncross your arms and your legs back into chair. Stand and bring your arms to your side. Now bring your knuckles together behind your back, or you could do reverse prayer if that's an option. As you press the knuckles into each other, let the elbows stretch wider, and same thing with the prayer hands. If you're doing the prayer hands, step your left foot back about 3.5 feet. Hands reach into each other, elbows go wide. Now make sure that as you're going to open up your chest, that you're not pushing from low in your ribs. So let the rib cage aim to the pelvis, and instead, let the upper two ribs widen from the back and the front. Now maintain that as you tip forward halfway. Press the inner right foot down. Feel the inner right leg tall. And then lengthen all the way out over your leg as best you can. Take the whole spine forward and down evenly instead of just hinging. Reach down through your feet and come back up. Put your right hand on your right outer hip and raise your left arm. Inhale. Exhale, reach. Tip from your pelvis. Then put your left hand down. Find length from the sacrum to the back of the skull. Now turn your rib cage. So bring your right hand to your left side ribs and see if you can turn the ribs independent of the shoulder, just like we practiced in the supine twist at the beginning. Then take your arm up. Reconnect into your right inner foot. Press that down into the ground. Feel your leg tall. Reach down through your feet and like a windmill, come up and around for the other side. If you're using the block, you can take it up and over. And then stand with your hands behind your back. Knuckles together, reverse prayer. Reach the knuckles or the prayer hands as you spread the elbows wide. Then start to hinge from your hips and tip forward halfway. Pause there. Feel the integrity in the shoulder girdle, the spread through the elbows. Press through your left inner foot and then start to lengthen all the way out over your leg. Instead of hinging from the stiff weak spot in the spine, be patient enough to let the whole spine go forward and down evenly. Inhale, come back up to stand. Left hand on your hip, raise your right arm straight up. And hinge from the pelvis again, start to lean forward. Bring your right hand down. Feel from your sacrum to the back of your skull, you're nice and long to the line of your left big toe. Then bring your left hand to your right outer ribs and start to spin the rib cage as the shoulder opens. Arm up if you haven't already. Now as you lose that length from your sacrum to the back of your skull to twist, find that again. And so the more mobile we can get the thoracic spine, the easier it's going to be to move the shoulders independent of the chest. Press down through your feet and inhale, come back up and around like the windmill, parallel your feet. Now clasp your hands behind your back and roll your shoulders open. If your shoulders are pretty tight like mine, this won't happen independent of the rib movement. So yeah, yours looks pretty good. You can do it right. But for me, I'm going to need the strap. So I'm going to take my hands shoulder distance apart, and then let's see. Oh yeah, now I can get the rotation, and we're going to specifically look for the rotation of the humeral head. So up here in the socket, turn from your armpit forward. Rib cage in, tailbone in, armpit turn. Now start to tip from your pelvis. And we'll hold 5 breaths. As you exhale, feel the bottom ribs connect towards the pelvis. And as you inhale, breathe towards your pelvis. Feel your side ribs expand all the way up into those upper 2 ribs. Feel them get wider from the back and the front. See if the shoulder can go a little bit further. As the anterior shoulder opens, keep breathing the ribs nice and broad. Then reach down through your feet, inhale into a flat back. Set your fingertips down onto the ground. And as you exhale, fold a little bit deeper. Inhale, come back into a flat back. Now walk your hands around to the right side. Turn your right foot out and lower your left knee down. Inhale, come up. And as you stretch down from your left hip down through the ground, raise your left arm. Bend your elbow, slide your hand behind your head. Take your right hand behind your back from under. Now you can bind with your fingers or pretend like you're binding, or you can use the strap if you're not quite there to grab the fingers. Gently reach in opposite directions. Like you could stretch the elbows away from each other, but notice how the rib cage will want to do it instead of letting the tension in the armpit, chest, shoulders open up. So let the ribs plug back down to the pelvis, let the head come back up on top of the spine, and then feel that your arms can start to stretch and open. Release that. Put your hands down onto the inside of your right foot. Hold here or set the elbows down onto the ground. Come back up. And change sides. Inhale, come up into your lunge. Raise your right arm. Bend your elbow. Slide your hand behind your head. Take a hold of the hand, strap, shirt, towel, whatever you got. Let your rib cage exhale back down to the pelvis. And then that's going to reveal where you're holding the tension in your shoulders and in your neck. Breathe in and out through your nose. Gently reach the elbows in opposite directions. Release that and put your hands down onto the inside of your foot. Hold there or come onto the elbows. Come back up onto your hands. Lift your back knee up. Stretch back to down dog. Then walk your hands back to your feet, one handprint at a time. And fold forward to the back of your mat. Come up to stand. Mountain pose. All right, now let's take our mats over to the wall, and we're going to use the strap and the blocks to do the prep for bridge pose and shoulder stand. The first thing that we're going to do is a feet elevated bridge pose. So you're going to take the blocks to the wall. I hope we don't mess up this painting. And then we're going to take the strap, have it handy. Now we've measured the strap so that it's shoulder distance apart. If your shoulders are tighter, you can go err on the side of going a little bit wider. For an added bonus to get the toe knotties, you can take the toes and stretch them up the wall. If that seems too confusing, you just put the feet flat on the blocks. Okay, so we're gonna lift first, actually. Let's find the rib cage. So we want the rib cage to plug towards the pelvis so we can find our core. That's so we can activate the transverse. Maintaining that, let's lift the hips up. Then we'll take the strap and slide it just below the elbows so that your forearms are in the strap. If it feels like you're too far away from the wall, that's usually a sign that you're too far away from the wall. And then you could just scoot yourself in a little bit closer. With the blocks, it tends to throw you off a little bit. Okay, there we go. So now wrap your thighs in towards each other like you're squeezing a block. Engage the glutes by hugging the buttocks towards the backs of the knees. Rib cage down to the pelvis. Now turn the humeral head like we practiced earlier. See if you can get it to rotate. And then last part, drop the arm bones through the ground. And as the humeral head rotates, see if you can start to gently press the arm bones into the ground. And then you might be able to ramp up the effort as long as you don't tense in the front of the shoulder or the neck. Breathe the ribs broad. Lower your buns back down. Move the strap. It's kind of intense, huh? Okay, now we're gonna try it with the feet up the wall. So it's gonna be just a little bit higher of a lift. Instead of the blocks, we'll scoot the buttocks in close to the wall, feet right above the knees. And then we're gonna lift up again and take the strap above the elbows, or you can do the hands interlocked if you want. So for some of you guys, hands interlocked will work better. And then you can figure out where the best spot is. Now, don't push from the ribs to go up. Keep the ribs plugged in. Drive from the backs of the legs. And you should feel that your neck feels easy in this. It's not jamming up your neck. Lower your butt back down. So it should feel like there was a lot of circulation, pump, pulse going on up in your upper chest. So just sit with the effects of the inversion for a moment and notice how powerful that is. I feel like it was so good, we should do it one more time. You guys want to do it? Okay, ready? Lift yourself back up. If you want to try to walk in closer this time to get a little bit more out of it. Oh shoot, I got the strap all messed up. Okay, and then I'm going to give you the option. You can, if you feel really steady, you're strong in your core, you could take one leg straight. Try not to lose the shoulders, the upper arms, you still have all that. Reach to the right big toe mound if it's the right leg that's straight, like a gas pedal. Rebend. Find the pose again, glutes to the backs of the knees, other leg. Rebend. Feel the collarbone spread. Lower your butt back down. Preparation for Salamba Sarvangasana. Okay, now let's scoot the buttocks a little bit closer to the wall for a supported Shavasana. Before we go for the supported Shavasana, legs up the wall, we're going to take a variation with the legs wide. You got enough room there? Okay. So in this position, let yourself find neutral with your spine, and then let the inner leg stretch. Arms at your side, palms face up. Again, notice the effects of the shoulder stand. So when we invert, we change the pressure, the fluid pressure between the abdominal cavity and the thoracic cavity. As a result, there's an increase in circulation. So you can feel the pump, like you just got all fresh flow all through the heart, chest, lungs. And as the diaphragm works to move, that's our prana pump. So we're cleansing, detoxifying the prana pump by increasing the circulation. And it should feel an effect on the whole body now as a result. Bring your legs up the wall now, or legs together. If that feels more comfortable, if you want to hang out for the full Shavasana with the legs wide apart, but we're going to hang here for 2 minutes. And as you let your body drop into the mat, give permission for the body to completely let go. If it feels uncomfortable, scoot your buttocks a little further away from the wall. If it still feels uncomfortable, just lie flat, forget about the legs up the wall. So not only do we want a physical release and surrender, but allow for the spirit to loosen its attachment and hold to whatever it's clinging to. Whether that's just ideas about the self, habitual mental patterns, give permission for complete surrender, freedom, and release. Then gently bend your knees. Roll over to your side. And press up. Thank you. Namaste. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Isabella. Great job, and I'll see you next time.